El Paso. It's 4 p.m. Mountain Time, and that means it's time to talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social pages that we're on these days, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. Busy news day out there, a lot going on, but focusing as we do on the local impacts and the stuff that we see here in the borderland, there's still plenty to be said here. So focusing on a couple of impacts of those, most specifically, we've got a tale of two cities, tale of two states coming, as we seemingly always do. Actually brought up by one of our callers in previous days. A little bit more information now coming out about what is going on in terms of the COVID responses on either side of the state line here as that continues to evolve. Plus, we'll be getting a bit into, of course, what is going on with some of our programming, as we are going to be welcoming back some more local programming on one of our sister stations here. So I have an interview with Michael Robert Tipton, going to be the renewed host of The Tipping Point with Mike Tipton on our sister station, Fox Sport 1380. We get into it a little bit here as we'll be talking with him about what we expect for that program, but amongst many other things going on again. Staying with our focus about what is impacting us right here in the borderland, one stark example that's coming up to me today, anyway, is that difference in the COVID response. We've talked a fair bit about what is going on in the lines, the waits. Had a family member have to try to get a COVID test, and it was a little bit of a nightmare recently, frankly, because of all of the hoops having to be jumped through, trying to find it. Many people, including those were being reported on by our news partners over at KFOX 14 and CBS 4, saying that the demand for testing skyrocketing, that at various lines, some that I've seen, the one closest by here anyway, over at, I believe it's a former medical center near UTEP on Sunbowl Drive, technically, if I'm not mistaken, or just off it, really. Seeing waits of more than an hour and a half, and the rapid test, the at-home test, still technically available according to some accounts, but otherwise you'd be better off finding a pig that is actually flying. It does seem like, or even if they do exist, the price might make you think it's cost the same as one of those mythical creatures. But the real example and the starkness that's coming up to me today is, with all of that going on, what is also being done on the opposite side of the state line. Already heard previously that there was maybe some initial availability of the COVID treatment pill, the one that is still very much in preliminary stages here, supposedly had the at-home remedy that would help lessen the symptoms. Sounds comparable in impact, if not exactly, and definitely not in form factor, to the monoclonal antibody, which has also been in non-existent supply within the state as of late. But specifically, the policy that is really sticking out to me is that of what NMSU is doing when it comes to its requirements. Of course, it's been no secret that the state of Texas, both in leadership and policy, has been opposed to such things. It's not exactly a well-kept secret by any way, shape, or form. But the way NMSU is doing it, again, there's other things going on within New Mexico overall, including a shopping bag ban / tax, really what it comes down to. That's kind of a separate point, but again, a further example, NMSU, New Mexico State University, is requiring a booster vaccine as a requirement for all employees and students. So going even further than what is being required in proposal, even by the federal administration, the White House, in their current policies, as we have Calvin Williams tuning in with us over on the Facebook page, facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Good afternoon to you as well. So this, again, goes a step further. Even some policies coming in for some organizations I'm involved in and employed by, saying that they are requiring there to be essentially in line with what might be coming out, that whole draft proposal, wanting to get ahead of it. Can't exactly blame them, even if there's weirdness with it, that either vaccination, current status, or evidence of weekly tests, which would not work for the at-home tests. I do feel the need to point out, because it has to have a verifiable lab result, so those are out the window. But NMSU, again, taking it even a step further, saying that you have to be fully vaccinated. Most specifically, that all employees, unless they have received an approved written exemption, must have proof of vaccination status by January 4th with a primary deadline of January 18th as a condition of employment. And this includes all employees, including student employees who are teleworking, to receive the booster by February 9th if eligible. So very different situation happening over there. And of course, I don't even have to reiterate what's going on here in Texas with a very firm move by the state legislature to go against that. Given the somewhat similarity of situations we're seeing on either side, curious to know what you all think about if this is effective or not, or what you think about the differences there. So we also have Edgar Ortiz on board with us here today. So that's one of the things directly impacting us within this sector of the border. This is not to ignore other major topics that are going on, but let's just say we have Friday coming up and already some talk about it. But we got to go ahead and take that break early right now, because coming up after this break, we're going to be getting into some more of our local programming that is happening right here on our stations in the iHeart Radio group. Calvin Williams saying family went to get tested last week, spent 4 hours together in the car with the windows up as it was raining, and only the youngest came back positive. Well, good health, hopefully, to all of you. But, geez, that's a egregious story about 4 hours there, and why I will, knock on wood, thank lucky stars, haven't had other need for it in the meantime. So we're going to go ahead and take that break right now. Coming back from the break, we're not going to be talking somewhat about this subject on COVID in general, but in the lens of new programming or returning programming. Better way to put it, over on our sister station, Fox Sport 1380. So stay tuned. More after this break with more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
Checking El Paso traffic. Got some stalled vehicles blocking the right shoulder right now. One of them, Gateway Boulevard northbound at Diana. The other, Loop 375 northbound at South Yarborough. Got an injury accident, Sean Haggerty, north of Gateway. As an alternate, you could use MLK Jr. Boulevard. And a medical emergency slowing traffic, Dyer, north of Tetons Drive at Sunset. Use caution there. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
This report is sponsored by DuckDuckGo. Protect your privacy for free with DuckDuckGo.
I feel like I'm being haunted by a pair of headphones. Everywhere I go is a creepy ad for headphones I looked at one time. I hate that feeling like I'm being watched. I downloaded DuckDuckGo and saw a difference right away. Take back your privacy online with DuckDuckGo. Privacy simplified.
Attend the Las Cruces Gun Show this weekend, January 8th and 9th at the Las Cruces Convention Center, 680 East University Ave in Las Cruces. See dealers selling the finest in modern guns, antique guns, custom knives, ammo, Old West collectibles, reloading supplies, and much more. Buy, sell, and trade at the Las Cruces Gun Show this weekend, January 8th and 9th, Las Cruces Convention Center, 680 East University in Las Cruces. Get $2 off. Go to azgunradio.com. Parking is free.
Every small business owner's most important New Year's resolution is to attract more customers. Let a radio ad from iHeart Ad Builder reach the customers that will make 2022 a successful year. iHeartAdBuilder.com is the fast, affordable way to create a customized ad for your business. Just answer a few questions and get your commercial on the air. Start 2022 off right and put the power of radio to work for your business at iHeartAdBuilder.com.
MassMutual knows that your finances can be an uncomfortable conversation.
Mark, we should really talk about our money.
Yep, we really should.
Like we never talk about our savings.
No, we never talk about that. Or our assets.
Or our debt.
Yeah, we really should talk about our debt.
We need one of those financial plans.
One of those will make a difference.
We should talk about it.
We really should.
Talk to us about financial wellness today. Feel comfortable about tomorrow. MassMutual. Live Mutual.
More than 1 in 3 people will face cancer in their lifetime. Unfortunately, fear can stop you from getting cancer screening, but it won't stop cancer. Early detection can save your life. Don't wait for symptoms to appear to act. Cancer screening is safe, effective, and accessible for everyone, including free or low-cost screening programs. Go to cancerscreenquiz.com now and take the American Cancer Society's 2-minute cancer screening quiz to find out what screening tests are right for you. Don't wait. Take the quiz. Get screened. Go to cancerscreenquiz.com now. Cancerscreenquiz.com.
Freedom of speech lives here.
To me, freedom of speech is being able to say anything you want.
El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM. El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live, streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social pages we're on these days, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, where we have Calvin Williams, Michael Perez, Edgar Ortiz chiming in and tuning in, more as well. Welcome to do so. Submit your comments over there. The Facebook page, the Talk El Paso page, consider it the main one until further notice, where they kick us off anyway. It's the Thunderdome of comments where the Skeptic Squad lives, so just be prepared as you're wading in. That not much is sacred, if anything, but everything is up for discussion. Always how it comes down here. So we'll get into more of those comments here in a bit, with including a comment from Michael Perez about testing and political implications of it, saying Democrats telling healthy people to incessantly test themselves contribute to the test shortage and more. So, yeah, interesting comments there, as well as some that it looks like we'll have to delete going on. Well, that's the nature of what happens on some of the social media pages. But, well, if you're spamming, know that you're going to get the ban hammer. Not anyone that anyone else has talked to here. Anyway, so that testing situation, if you're talking about it in general, I mean, abundance of I'm not going to fault anyone saying, you know what, I want to know if I should get tested, if I had an exposure. I did it mildly in advance of issues after that bit of travel we did before the end of last year as this is one of the more risky activities. So I didn't realize at the time how good I had it trying to pick up one of those at-home tests, because just walked right in, found a stack of them, picked up what I needed and left, and we were good to go. Now they're basically, they might as well be gold bars for how scarce they are. But that's one issue of what's going on here. But talking about these issues is, of course, important to me and important to us in the way we go about and having this discussion. And I'm very happy to say that we have returning another outlet for, well, a different kind of discussion anyway. Not exactly like we do here, but if you're a fan of live and local talk radio as much as possible, particularly the local aspect of it, we do have a very exciting thing to talk about, returning to our airwaves on one of our sister stations starting this week, tomorrow, in fact, where we do have a return of a previous program finally coming back to air. So to talk more about that, here's that interview. Enjoy. All right, joining me now, we have Michael Robert Tipton, host of the show, coming back to our air now of The Tipping Point with Mike Tipton. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Oh, thank you for having me, Andrew.
So people may have recalled that in the past, in previous years here at this point, of the show over on our sister station, Fox Sports 1380, that I lent a hand with myself here, hosted by yourself, that is now coming back starting as of tomorrow.
Yeah, tomorrow, January 7th, 5 o'clock, 5 to 6 p.m. every Friday thereafter. And I'm just, it's kind of a humbling experience because, the pandemic forced a lot of people to get laid off and all that stuff. And unfortunately, I was one of those people. And whenever you get messages from people saying, man, like, I miss your show, when's it going to come back? And not just people in El Paso, people from Austin, because as you know, I had a wide net that we kind of cast on the Facebook.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Drawing a lot of interesting characters, as a lot of our shows do seem to do. And the talk about, what's going on in sports has been a decent focus over the last year for a lot of people, and, getting away from the realities of things. I've personally missed it, but I'm biased on my own way that way, having had involved in it and greatly enjoyed being a part of it. So coming back, what can people expect, particularly if they never even tuned into the show before?
Honesty and transparency. That's always been the way that I've kind of wanted to run my show. I'm not going to be one of those gas bags that says something and whenever I'm wrong, I'm going to be like, oh, let me just ignore it. No, if I'm wrong, I'll admit whenever I'm wrong. And because of the way that everything's going, we'll be putting out, picks for entertainment purposes only. So, you can listen to some of those things as well. Andrew's seen it. I'm pretty good whenever it comes to picking football, some other sports, things of that nature. And again, just a wide open community for people. It doesn't matter what we want to talk about. No subject is off the table. I don't mind a little bit of controversy every now and then. I think I've dipped my toe into that once in a while.
just a little bit there. Yeah, absolutely. Here, how's your fantasy team doing then?
2 of my fantasy teams made it to the final. I lost, but I still got money, and that's all that matters. I had 3 fantasy teams, and I'm happy with that.
Oh, there you go. A little bit of proof in the pudding there for you. So, again, Fox Sports 1380 is our sister station right across the hall from me there, focused on sports, but you kind of take an interesting tack at it because I mean, sports is kind of the reason for existence, but it's not the only thing in existence. Is kind of the way you've handled it in the past.
Yeah, to me, like I'm a sports fan. Like I'm a diehard Dallas Cowboys fan. I love Texas Tech, things of that nature, right? I love the San Antonio Spurs, but I've never been one of those sports fans that gets upset with my team whenever they lose or whenever I'm super jubilant whenever they win. Now, if the Cowboys win a Super Bowl, there will be tears. That I can guarantee you. We've put up with so much BS over the last 26 years that when and if they ever win a Super Bowl in my lifetime, I will cry like a big baby. I do not care. But I've always looked kind of into the story of the games, right? And now with everything that we've got going on with the pandemic, there's so many interesting stories, not just in the NFL, but in basketball. What's going to happen with the baseball season? And it seems kind of like that underlying factor that we have whenever it comes to sports. So it's kind of looking into the story. Yesterday, in one of yesterday's games, a guy that's been out of the NBA for, I want to say 4 or 5 years, Lance Stevenson, hit 4 3-pointers in the first quarter of a game. And it kind of shows you just how talented some of these guys are. And for whatever reason he's out of the game, he kind of made a case to be back. Whenever you score 20 points in 2 games back, that's a pretty decent amount of points that you scored. And to me, it's always about the story, kind of peeling back the wins and losses and kind of trying to find what's in the middle, that juicy part in the middle of what happened. LeBron James likes to be a big crybaby. So let's talk about that a little bit,
Absolutely. And also your encyclopedic knowledge of this kind of stuff definitely helps you out there, because I mean, the amount of stuff that you can just pull out of your hat, is the way I'm going to say it, is impressive when it comes to dealing with these subjects.
Yeah, and I don't know what it was about sports that made me kind of just, soak it up like a sponge. There's, these weird statistics and things like that I could bore people with. And you've seen it. Whenever people ask me for stats, I'll regurgitate stats all day long. But again, there's so much more to the game than wins and losses and points scored and all that good stuff.
It's interesting the way you talked about your love for certain teams and how you express it, because, of course, one of your people who have listened to your program before or followed you on your social media and the other things you've been doing in the meantime may be very aware of your relationship with the UTEP Miners in general, particularly when it comes to the football team. That from an outside perspective, someone may say that you're the biggest hater ever, but it comes from a place of love for you.
Exactly. For me, I want them to do better. I feel like they should do better. The city of El Paso deserves that. Now, UTEP football historically isn't a great team. This year, where they made a bowl game, is the anomaly. That's the the outlier, the sore thumb, if you will. But for me, I just want a team to be competitive. That's all I want from UTEP. I want the fans to be able to go to a bowl game. Seeing the crowd. I don't know if you saw the New Mexico Bowl up in Albuquerque, and yeah, it's only a couple hours away, but seeing the crowd up there was great, because UTEP fans don't get this very often. So for me, it's that tough love. You know what I mean? Because I'm not a UTEP fan. I graduated from UTEP. I love UTEP sports. I'm a booster. I support them. I do all that stuff. But I am not at my heart a UTEP fan. I just want the city of El Paso to get better. Like UTEP needs to be better for El Paso to get better, especially when it comes to the sports scene. Because to me, it's a shame that I grew up here, and the team that I love is Texas Tech. And for a lot of people out there, it's, Baylor, or it's Texas, or it's Oklahoma, or USC, or something else. There's very few UTEP fans, real hardcore fans, that you see in the city of El Paso. And to me, that's a shame. And the only way you fix that is by winning.
It's true. I mean, it's been an anecdote ever since I can remember that we have the worst fair weather fans around here, that as soon as something starts going, the bandwagon practically breaks down because of the amount of people jumping on it. And so it could be misconstrued, I think, a little bit about your standpoint on how you feel about this. But again, tough love is a good way to put it here. Speaking of the Sun Bowl bowl games, and specifically the Sun Bowl, we had actually an interesting point come up this past week about the potential, or what could have happened with the Sun Bowl, that, of course, given all the COVID implications and teams having to pull out and other bowls being canceled, it seemed like there may have been something on the chopping block for here. So you've done a little bit of work with the Sun Bowl in some capacities in previous years. One of the claims that was made is that by one of our listeners is that if it hadn't worked out the way it did this year, the Sun Bowl itself may have been in jeopardy. You have any perspective on that?
I could understand why people would think that, but college football college athletics is all about one thing, and that's the money at the end of the day, right? My relationship with sports is I understand what sports is. It is a one-sided transaction. That team does not care about me. They don't care about you. It's hard to say that. They care about the dollars you bring them, and it's really that simple. The Sun Bowl would not have been canceled. It's one of the oldest bowls or come to an end, right? Like even if they had canceled this game this year, it wouldn't have come to an end. It's one of the oldest bowls. It's got a bunch of prestige. The payout for it, and this is going to blow a lot of people's minds, is $4 million. So whoever wins that game, that school gets $4 million, right? That just means, sponsors and stuff. If the game gets canceled, yeah, they lose a little bit. But Tony the Tiger, Kellogg's, that's a pretty big company that's got a lot of money, because I don't care how your pandemic's been going. A lot of us been eating cereal. A lot of I've got boxes of Frosted Flakes here because I love Frosted Flakes. But there's no way to me that college football would let any of these bowl games just disappear and evaporate, because there's so much money that they could stand to lose by not playing this game. So if we go with that hypothetical of the Sun Bowl being canceled, CBS doesn't want to hold it anymore, any of that. You know who has all but two bowl games? ESPN. And ESPN would get that bowl, and ESPN would market it and do the things that they do. The other bowl that isn't on ESPN airwaves is the Barstool Bowl, and that's only on YouTube. So for the people that wanted to know that. But for so long, these games were always about, the fans and the school and this and that. But fast forward now into this new millennium and the money that we're seeing being poured into college athletics, at the end of the day, it all comes down to money. And the more money you have, there's no way that you're going to let that money go away. No way whatsoever. And the best part about what college football is doing, what college athletics is doing, is, yeah, they have the NIL. So I could sponsor some kid and he can come on the show every now and again, but that's not money coming out of the pocket of the school. That's not money coming out of the pocket of the conference. So they're still making all that money and not paying their labor. And hey, as long as you can get away with it, make your money, bro. Like, it's really that simple.
Yeah, the whole system, particularly when it comes to college football, primarily has been interesting, and the movement in it and what's been going on with the changes and the court cases has been quite the saga to follow. This is a little bit more almost hard newser way than you usually go about talking things on the show, though, I want to say.
Well, you're a news guy. Your listeners are news people as well. I've got to try to show out a little bit that I know a little bit of what I'm talking about.
Fair enough. But in general, the way you kind of handle things is what's kind of almost what's interesting to you with regard to the sports world, but everything else as well.
Yeah, and that's the best part about the show is it's, like I said, it's a wide open discourse. You bring up soccer, I might not know the question off the top of my head. I might not know the answer, but you know what I'll do? I'll research and I'll come back and I'll say, hey, we were asked this question yesterday. Here is your answer that you were asked. Because to me, I've always hated whenever I would tweet at, a big name person somewhere, anywhere out there, right? Even here in El Paso, you tweet at them and they don't get back to you, right? The least you could do is be like, hey, you know what? I don't know, but let me find out. And then you could DM the person and be like, hey, here you go. Now, of course, that's going to open up a little bit of things and, they might DM you a whole bunch, but you don't always have to reply to some of those things that they ask you. It would just be nice that once in a while you do that, So to me, I'm always about the open discourse. I'm all about, let's have a fun time. If you want to bring up a serious subject, like to me, college football and money is a very serious subject, especially with the fact that there's a lot of people out there that think within the next couple of years, a quarterback going to a bigger conference is going to be worth $3 million. And it's no longer under the table. We don't have to worry about this stuff, being caught or any of that stuff, because all it is at the end of the day is that money grab. And that's really how, college athletics is. It doesn't take away from the story. It doesn't take away from the wins and losses. Alabama could lose this national championship coming up, right? So there's still that competitive balance that's out there. It's just that college athletics and all the athletics that we know in the past are starting to change. They're all starting to evolve, and there's nothing bad with that. I mean, look at the NFL now, right? Back in the day, whenever I was a kid, Emmitt Smith was amazing because he ran the ball 957,000 times a game. Now they run the ball like 12 times a game. There was a game the other day that one of the teams ran the ball 7 times. You don't run the ball anymore in the NFL. You just do it to try to catch somebody off guard. But that's the whole, cool thing about sports is seeing the way that, it's all evolving, and we're just getting to sit back and, take a seat and look at the way that things are changing.
Yeah, the meta is definitely an interesting one there. And one of the things that's also been brought up here on our air is about the potential for an actual college playoff. What do you think the odds are of that?
So they do have the CFP. They got 4 teams that go into the CFP.
Right.
To me, people are always saying you got to expand the CFP. Like, you got to go 8 teams, 12 teams, things of that nature. And yeah, maybe you'll be able to give some of these bowls a little bit of prestige. You'll be able to have higher payouts, things of that nature. But we all kind of know what it's going to be at the end of the day with watching Texas and Oklahoma say, we're going to go to the SEC now. Texas, pretty far west. I don't know why they're going to the Southeastern Conference, but hey, that's just me. But now you have the best teams out there in one conference. In the 4-team playoff, you had 2 teams, Alabama and Georgia, in the CFP. And that is now who your championship is going to be decided by, are those 2 teams. Over the last couple of years, Oklahoma has been in the CFP. So if we, reverse time and things are all, Oklahoma's already in the SEC, you would have had 3 SEC teams in one conference or in the college football playoff. That's insane to think about. So to me, sure, you can expand the playoff, but all that means is that you're going to have more SEC teams in it because you're getting more SEC teams out there. Clemson had a bad year this year. And you know as well as I do, in college, it's such a, it moves so quickly that one bad year can really ruin a lot of your future. Look at a school like Miami. They won a couple of national championships early on in the 2000s, and then nothing. And they were supposed to come to the Sun Bowl. That's not a bowl that they're used to going to. They're used to going to national championship bowls. But a couple of bad years, you start losing those prospects. And now that all the money's going to the SEC, it's, to me, the SEC is going to be a level playing field. But there's always an objective in my mind at ESPN to push the SEC. They've had commercials over the last couple of weeks that are like, we're going to get more Southern. Well, what does that mean? It's going to push the SEC is what that means. Because that's what they want to try to do. So as long as ESPN controls all those bowl games, you're going to have a ton of SEC teams in that college football playoff. So to me, sure, have your championship. You can call it a national championship with the SEC and all their teams, all 9,000 of their teams. But I think what's going to have to happen is that you're going to have a group of 5 championship as well, because now the gap is starting to get so big. Because those schools like Oklahoma, those schools like UT, they got a lot more money than what UTEP has. They got a lot more money than what a Vanderbilt or a Purdue have. So to me, you're going to have to change the format of college football.
This is Michael Tipton here with us right now, giving us a preview of I hope we're not taking up all the stuff you're going to say on your show as of tomorrow. The Tipping Point with Mike Tipton returning to Fox Sports 1380, 5 to 6 p.m. on Fridays here, giving a little bit of a preview of what you can expect, probably with a little bit of a harder edge to it as well, because take a appropriately jocular attitude to most things you go over, including dealing with the audience here. We got to take a break right now. We're coming back from the break. We'll talk more about that upcoming restarted show and a little bit more about some of the local topics here. So Mike, stay tuned and stay here with us. We'll be back with more Talk El Paso after this break.
El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
I'm Jessica Gonzalez with your CBS 4 News update. The demand for testing in El Paso has skyrocketed as we get into the new year. City officials say there is not enough staff working at testing sites to keep up with the long lines of people showing up. COVID-19 infections have greatly impacted the number of people able to show up to work. A lot of city clinics are unavailable by appointment, and local stores are running out of at-home test kits. The city confirmed 1,002 new daily cases of COVID-19 in El Paso County today. The last time we reported more than 1,000 daily cases was back in October 2020. Hospitalizations aren't as high as they were back then, but they have gone up by about 30 patients since yesterday. 10 more people have also died from the virus. People in Far East El Paso can get vaccinated against COVID-19 or get their booster shot this weekend. The Texas Department of Health will host a free clinic Saturday. It will be at the Horizon Fire Station on Paseo del Este. You can stop by between 9 in the morning and 5 in the afternoon. I'm Jessica Gonzalez with your CBS 4 News Update.
News Radio 690. Traffic all day.
We got an accident, Gateway Boulevard northbound before Sun Valley Drive. A 3-car crash that's blocking the right lane and the right shoulder. Stay left to get by. I-10 eastbound between Artcraft and past Thorn Avenue. It's pretty slow and go. Paseo del Norte eastbound west of Wrestler got an accident there. And watch for an injury accident, Sean Haggerty north of Gateway. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
From the KFOX 14 Severe Weather Center, this is Chief Meteorologist Sandra Diaz. We've got another cold night ahead of us with temperatures back into the lower to mid 30s. Winds will be out of the south-southeast to around 10 miles an hour. Our day for Friday looks pretty nice. We've got temperatures even warmer in the mid 60s, and by Saturday we are pushing to near 70 degrees with also a slight increase in our winds. On top of that, look for an increase in cloud cover for next week with a chance for rain.
This report is sponsored by DuckDuckGo. Protect your privacy for free with DuckDuckGo.
I feel like I'm being haunted by a pair of headphones. Everywhere I go is a creepy ad for headphones I looked at one time. I hate that feeling like I'm being watched. I downloaded DuckDuckGo and saw a difference right away. Take back your privacy online with DuckDuckGo. Privacy simplified.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along, which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. It finds them for you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter.com/radio.
Talk El Paso, airing weekdays at 4 right here on News Radio 690 KTSM, focused on local businesses, local politics, local impacts of the day's news. Brought to you in part by Thrive 915 Food Fest. Join the conversation Monday through Friday at 4, and let's talk El Paso.
Looking to save money this year? Look at Allstate. You can get the protection you need at the low rate you want. With Allstate, you can lower your rates, not your expectations. Visit allstate.com or call an agent for a quote today. This report is sponsored by Allstate.
News Radio 690 KTSM.
From the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. Follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
All right, welcome back here to Talk El Paso, airing here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Your host, Andrew J. Polk, joined right now by Michael Robert Tipton, host of the renewed Tipping Point with Mike Tipton, going to be airing on our sister station, Fox Sports 1380, starting tomorrow and airing then on Fridays, 5 to 6 p.m. So you talk about a lot of stuff, sports and sports adjacent, I think is the way you used to put it, right?
Yes. So a lot of the times with the show, like it would get derailed because, like I said, I wanted it to be an open discourse with the listeners and the viewers. So if they weren't feeling the topic, you can't just sit there and, pound it into their head. You got to kind of see where things are going. And a lot of the times, especially during the pandemic, it came down to food, right? Dalgona coffee, like you and I had. And, so to me, you got to be kind of fluid with that, and you got to be able to kind of weave in and out of stuff. So there was a lot of times where, there's not a lot going on in sports, especially that dead period following the NBA finals. Like, yeah, you got Major League Baseball, but how many people still actually care about Major League Baseball? I mentioned all my teams. I didn't even mention the Yankees. And I love the Yankees.
It's interesting you mentioned baseball as well, because particularly, the dead period that comes around yearly is one thing, but then the dead period of sports in general that happened at that abundance of caution moment in the, early to mid 2020 itself, that was something where it was kind of a sink or swim moment for sports talk on its own, because there wasn't a lot going on out there. So you turned to something kind of innovative just to have scores to talk about.
Well, the listeners, like I said, they always drive the show, right? And they're going to do what they want to do. And there were listeners that would get upset, like, oh, why are you talking about food? Why aren't you talking about sports? Well, it was the middle of the pandemic. There were no sports being played. Like it was really that simple. So I kind of was looking around and I saw that ESPN was at 5:00 in the morning showing the Korean baseball organization. And I was watching some of these games, and they have a lot of different rules than what we have in Major League Baseball. They get a lot of runs scored. And as I was kind of looking stuff up, and I said, this is what I want to talk about, I started doing research. There was a guy named Mel Rojas Jr. who was leading the league in home runs, RBIs, and hits, which means that he would have had a shot at a Triple Crown. I don't care where you're playing at. That's a really awesome achievement, no matter what the league is. So to placate to people that were upset that I was talking about tacos or coffee or any of the other stuff out there that we spoke about, I'd say, here's our Korean baseball, update. Let's hit this thing, because that was literally the only sport that was going on at that time. I don't know if you remember this, but like even WWE was like, we're not going to do anything right now. Major League Baseball, they postponed the entire season because of what was going on with the Players Association. And the NFL, as I always said, they gave the double birds to everybody because they kept the draft going. And it was a little bit of a different draft. They kept their free agency going and all that stuff, but they didn't have action on the field. The only on-field action was a Korean baseball organization, and I'm going to be honest with you, I still follow it.
I mean, it ended up being a pretty good some narratives of the season there. I remember it fondly, but that's just kind of just emblematic about how you take on subjects here and all of it.
Their trophy. I don't know if you remember their trophy. They had like a 6-foot tall trophy with like swords and stuff in it too. The World Series ain't doing us justice. We need to go to the Korean baseball organization and steal their trophy ideas.
I mean, there's innovation wherever you can find it here. So just the way you handle topics like that and find the interesting ways to go about why I would encourage people to tune in for it. You're also going to be putting it out online in different ways, because that's always been kind of the DNA of the show for yourself, right?
Yeah, so it's going to be available on Facebook. We're going to have the page go live here later on today. And we're also going to be on the iHeartRadio app. Podcasts are a big thing. Apple Podcasts and all the places that you can get podcasts. So if you can't listen to it live, you have the opportunity to listen to it in broken down segments, not full hours at a time, because really, who has the time to do that? So you'll be able to get it online. I'll be streaming the recordings because of the pandemic. I won't be able to go into the studio and do the show live. But what I'm going to do is, on that Tipping Point page, I will go live, and I will basically do a live show and then post that up to the Fox Sports 1380 interweb that they have, and it'll be out there live for you at 5:00. And the goal is eventually to get back in the studio once everything kind of calms down. We get rid of this variant and maybe another one, and get back in the studio, and not just be on Fridays, but be 5 days a week. And it's been really awesome to once again, like I said, see the support from people, because we're going about this a completely different way. And it had been 433 days since I was on Fox Sports 1380. The NBA has had 2 full seasons since the last time I was on Fox Sports 1380. And the people that were, my sponsors and always wanted to do stuff with me said, we're in. Just that simple. We're in. And, I got sponsors on the show now, and we're going to try to make it as big as we can make it. And the only way that we can do that is with the fans tuning in. If you don't agree with me, tell me why you don't agree with me. I always welcome those conversations. And if you think I'm an idiot, tell me I'm an idiot. I'm perfectly fine with that. But at the same point in time, you have to have reasons. You know what I mean? Anytime people say, oh, well, we should fix this, if you don't have a solution, you're part of the problem as far as I'm concerned. So you better have a solution on fixing things.
You best come correct in all of these situations here, otherwise you're going to have a bad time. I mean, the point you went to a little bit earlier, kind of related to this, was about not shying away from the controversy. Again, if you've ever listened to it or interested in doing so, that could be the sub-headline for practically every show, not avoiding the controversy, because you lean into it, whatever's going on to it, including what we first started talking about, this kind of stuff, involving what's going on with sports here in town on the local edge of it, and particularly things that are just, ever so slightly uncontroversial, like the arena.
I love the arena talk, because what this is El Paso trying to catch up to other cities. And we still have that mindset of we're a border town, we're this and that, like all those what I consider negative thoughts when it comes to the city of El Paso. We deserve better. I said that about Utah. We deserve better. Now, for me, and this is where I kind of stray away from the norm whenever it comes to the sports people, because they all want that arena. I don't necessarily know if a downtown arena is going to be, the answer to all our prayers or any of that stuff. The Locomotive are doing just fine in Southwest University Park. UTEP is doing great with what they have. Maybe renovate a little bit of the Don Haskins Center so you can get those numbers and bring in, those conference championship games, which is really the angle that they're trying to do to once again bring in money. That's really what the end goal is. To me, Duranguito is a dump, and it's been a dump my entire life. I've lived here in El Paso my entire life. I had no clue that place was called Duranguito until one day some guy decided to call it Duranguito. And to me, what value is there for the city? I've said this to you a myriad of times in our conversations whenever it's come down to this. There's three options whenever it comes to Duranguito. A, you leave it alone and it stays the same and the rest of the city builds up around it and it's that eyesore. And the people living there get to stay there if there's even people living there anymore. I don't know if there's anyone living there. The second
complicated subject, yeah.
The second option is that you fix it up and you pour in money, because it's going to take a lot of money to get that area fixed up. And then what's going to happen with the rent? It's not going to be cheap anymore because you got to try to make that money back. So gentrification happens, the thing that you're trying to fight against. Or you get rid of it, right? You get rid of what that eyesore is. To me, the stadium's not the answer. To me, put in something like an eggshell that you have down in or up in Boston. Put in something like Central Park. Build that area into something nice that the city can rally around and that you can hold events at. The stadium's not going to be it. I know people always complain about parking. I couldn't care less about parking. Have you ever been to a downtown that had good parking? And your answer is no. We're the 20th largest city in the country. We should start acting like the 20th largest city in the country and stop complaining about parking, because that to me is the dumbest thing in the history of mankind when it comes to the city of El Paso. We're too big to not have some of the things that some of these other cities have. We spent the 80s and 90s turning away things that could have generated revenue for the city of El Paso. And to me, we got to play catch up. It's the same thing that we're doing with the freeway system. I live on the far east side of town. That what they're trying to do with Montana to make that freeway, that should have been something done 20 years ago. And here we are again trying to play catch up because we rested on our laurels as a border town. And what we need to do is start focusing on quality of life. Keep people here. You have doctors that are graduating from, Texas Tech. You have nurses that are graduating from UTEP, engineers graduating from UTEP, and they leave this city because, quite frankly, there's nothing to do. At least for a lot of people, there's nothing to do. That's another topic for another time. But quality of life to me is really where it's at. The arena, to me, put it down to Socorro, put it somewhere far away because you will need parking if you want a big arena like that. So it needs to go somewhere where it has the ability for parking. Cowboy Stadium, it ain't in Dallas. It's in Arlington. And that's for a reason, because there's nowhere to build in Dallas, right? So do the exact same thing here in El Paso, start acting like a big city. And for me, do something with Duranguito, because right now, the way it's been looking for the last, decade now, is just an eyesore for this city.
Sure, there are some finer points that the people who have been involved in those neighborhood associations would make, but to a larger extent, what you're talking about with arena space, tell me you've ever seen a picture of a major stadium, arena, anything that is not literally surrounded by a sea of parking, and then figure out how you shoehorn that into some place like downtown El Paso, and you start coming up with the reasonable questions that have been talked about for years here. So just kind of a nutshell example of the kind of stuff and the way you go about it on your show here. So you have been on our air a couple of times, even in the interim here. For people who may have heard about that or, seen or been curious, what is it what you have been doing and how is that going to work for you going forward?
So I am the manager of constituent events with the West Texas chapter of the Alzheimer's Association. I will still be doing that. Obviously, a one-day-a-week show ain't going to pay the bills. So I will be working with the Alzheimer's Association literally until the day they decide that they don't want me there, because it is something that I am passionate about. The one thing that I will say about the future and stuff like that is I don't have a job unless we get people to participate and to donate. And we've had some amazing companies be a part of the fundraisers and things like that we have here with the West Texas chapter of the Alzheimer's Association, mainly just in December. Union Draft House. I don't mean to give them a plug here on your show, But Union Draft House, L&F Distributors, and Firestone Walker Brewery were able to, at the last minute for the month of November, create a small fundraiser. It's one that we thought was going to be pretty small. Gets us just over $4,300. And to me, any amount that we get to help out people here, to show them what programs we have to help you navigate through the diagnosis of Alzheimer's, to assist people with caregiving and things of that nature. And of course, as we know, there's not a cure. So a lot of what we're doing also goes into research and trying to find a cure. Yes, they do have a medication now that slows the progression of Alzheimer's, but it's not a cure. And we all live for these memories. That's what we all live for. So whenever we get older, we have the ability to kind of recall those things and kind of look back and smile on the stuff that we've done in our old age and leading up to that time. So to me, memories are the most precious things that we have. And the more people that we get involved, because Alzheimer's is going to touch a ton of people. In Texas, there's 600,000 people living with Alzheimer's in the state of Texas. 4.5 million caregivers for those people. And it's mainly family members. And they have to quit their jobs because you can't just leave someone with Alzheimer's or dementia by themselves. You have to be there. It's a 24/7 cycle. And to me, that's the main thing about it, is just getting out there in the community, showing them that we're here, and of course working to get those fundraisers later on.
I mean, I had to mention the work that you do there because it is important, and glad you'll be continuing it in some fashion because it's been important, and that's why we've had you on the air in other capacities to talk about that. But again, the main reason we're talking here today, the restart of the Tipping Point with Mike Tipton on our sister station, Fox Sports 1380, happening tomorrow, 5 to 6 p.m., and every Friday thereafter for the foreseeable future. Anyway, that's the plan, but there are other plans that works, as you mentioned here. So if people want to tune in, again, you'll be doing it partially recorded live and then being played back on our area here.
As we say in the business, live to tape. Look at us going live to tape here. But again, tune in. Let's have a conversation. You, the listener, drive the conversation, and we can talk about the most serious things, or we can talk about silly things as well. I really couldn't care less what we talk about, as long as we just have that conversation in a respectful manner, a very respectful manner. And by that, I mean, you can call me an idiot and I won't get hurt.
Only respect ever, but much respect for you, Mike. Thanks for joining us here to talk about the show coming back, the stuff that you do, and all the topics that I'm sure are going to be coming up.
Yes, Andrew. Thank you so much, my brother.
No, appreciate it. So be sure to tune in for that again coming up tomorrow here. We got to take our next break right now. So coming back from the break, we'll get to more of these topics and more what's going on affecting us here in the borderland. And we'll open up those phone lines, 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. Back after this break with more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
Got a 3-car crash that's blocking the right lane and the on-ramp just past Loop 375 and before Sun Valley Drive. The backup has already started back to Cohen. I-10 westbound at Wrestler, that's where the stop and go starts. And a stall semi is blocking the right shoulder at Loop 375 westbound Border Highway at the 54. Kerry Edwards, El Paso traffic.
This report is sponsored by Jackson Hewitt. Get your biggest refund guaranteed. Jackson Hewitt Tax Pros will help find thousands worth of new tax credits so you get every dollar you deserve. So why wait? Schedule an appointment with one of their tax pros and learn more at jacksonhewitt.com.
Now may be the perfect time to buy a home financed by Loan Depot. Loan Depot has over 300 loan products to help you make home ownership a reality. Interest rates are near historic lows. Rates will not stay low forever. So call 866-888-LOAN so one of our thousands of loan officers can help you find the right loan. Call 866-888-LOAN or visit loandepot.com. Loan Depot. Rates are subject to change. Equal housing opportunity lender. NMLS number 174457. Licensed in all 50 states.
We've lost so many people to COVID. So many moms and dads, favorite uncles, older sisters, and best friends. But vaccines can help prevent severe illness and death from COVID. So now, almost all COVID deaths are preventable. And so are the broken hearts they leave behind. We can do this. Find vaccines near you at vaccines.gov. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
iHeartRadio Earth knows small changes can make a big difference. Want to reduce your food waste? Embrace your freezer. From bread to meat and even cheese, most foods can be frozen and cooked later. Plus, a full freezer uses less electricity. Brought to you by iHeartRadio Earth and the National Environmental Education Foundation. To find more tips for smarter, sustainable living or to take action in your own community, go to iHeartRadio.com/Earth.
Hi, I'm Scotty Clark from Scott Heating, Cooling, and Plumbing. Did you realize your home's HVAC system operates 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year? At Scott Heating, Cooling, and Plumbing, we're conveniently open 7 days a week at the same hourly rate. So for professional quality service, call Scott Heating, Cooling, and Plumbing day or night for a job done right at 595-4529. 595-4529.
It's better breakfast o'clock at Wendy's because it all starts with a better biscuit. Get hot and buttery Wendy's breakfast biscuits made with oven-baked bacon or savory sausage, fresh cracked egg, and cheese. So don't risk your biscuit. Get Wendy's instead. Limited time only at participating U.S. Wendy's.
KTSM AM El Paso is News Radio 690, an iHeart radio station. News Radio 690, KTSM El Paso.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. Got a short segment here right now, just as much to say thank you very much to our guest, Michael Robert Tipton, again, hosting the Tipping Point with Mike Tipton once again. Fox Sports 1380 AM sister station, starting tomorrow at 5 here. But we got to end up having that break for the top of the hour right now. So I know we end up opening up those phone lines. Stays tight if you're on there. Otherwise, we'll take more coming out of the break and into the top of the hour after the news. So stay tuned for more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM. A lot of comments racked up during that interview. We'll get into some of those and a whole lot more. But the issues affecting us here in the borderline, including that testing and all the issues associated with it. So there's a whole lot more to come. Again, we're doing that whole 2-hour thing, 4 to 6 p.m., Monday through Friday here. So we'll be getting into more of that. And again, that number to call if you want to, 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. I know there's a whole lot of issues to discuss, and we'll get into a whole lot more of it. Trying to focus today as much on the local aspect, but don't forget Friday is coming when we do our own free-for-all thing. So stay tuned. Back after this break with more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM. One more plug, that number, 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. See you back in a minute. Don't go anywhere.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
Got a 3-car crash that's blocking the right lane and the on-ramp just past Loop 375 and before Sun Valley Drive. The backup has already started back to Cohen. I-10 westbound at Wrestler, that's where the stop and go starts. And a stall semi is blocking the right shoulder at Loop 375 westbound Border Highway at the 54. Kerry Edwards, El Paso traffic.
Attend the Las Cruces Gun Show this weekend, January 8th and 9th at the Las Cruces Convention Center, 680 East University Ave in Las Cruces. See dealers selling the finest in modern guns, antique guns, custom knives, ammo, Old West collectibles, reloading supplies, and much more. Buy, sell, and trade at the Las Cruces Gun Show this weekend, January 8th and 9th, Las Cruces Convention Center, 680 East University in Las Cruces. Get $2 off. Go to azgunradio.com. Parking is free.
Always just minutes away from the latest news around town and around the world.
It's important to know what's going on, especially around the world.
News Radio 690 KTSM.
News on the hour and a half. Traffic and weather all day. News Radio 690 is KTSM AM El Paso, an iHeart radio station.
NBC News Radio, I'm Brian Shook.
The White House press secretary is addressing President Biden's criticism of Donald Trump. Jen Psaki told reporters Biden started his presidential campaign by calling former President Trump a unique threat to the soul of America and a threat to democracy. During his Capitol speech today, Biden did not call Trump by name. He referred to him as the former president and the defeated former president and blamed Trump for provoking the Capitol riot. Republican Representatives Matt Gaetz and Marjorie Taylor Greene are redirecting blame for last year's riot.
Because we did not want the Republican voice to go unheard, and we did not want today's historical narrative to be hijacked and captured by those who were the true insurrectionists.
The event was billed as a Republican response on the anniversary of the riot after former President Trump canceled his own event. Gaetz echoed ideas he mentioned earlier on Steve Bannon's podcast involving unfounded claims about undercover agents. He played video of the riots, pointing out what he thought was an FBI informant in the crowd. The East Coast is bracing for what could be the first bomb cyclone of 2022. Michael Kastner reports.
Meteorologists say a major winter snowstorm is hitting tonight into tomorrow, and it could result in below zero temperatures and heavy snow. Snow is expected to spread from West Virginia and Virginia through Delaware, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and much of southeastern New England. A bomb cyclone occurs when a storm's central pressure drops dramatically within 24 hours.
The 3 white men convicted of killing Ahmaud Arbery will be sentenced on Friday. Travis and Greg McMichael, along with Roddy Bryan, all face minimum sentences of life in prison in the fatal shooting of Arbery. At the closing bell, the Dow Jones Industrial Average lost 171 points to 36,236. You're listening to the latest from NBC News Radio. New York City Mayor Eric Adams is proposing a 3-day work week to help ease workers back into offices. Lisa G. reports.
The mayor says it's a way to show people how safe it is to come back to work. And then after 3 weeks, he says, cycle back into a 5-day work week. This comes on the heels of Adams' push for big investment firms and other businesses to have employees return to in-person work. Adams says employees in the office help pay service workers paychecks and keep smaller businesses alive.
Actor Chris Noth is out of the Sex and the City spin-off's finale. The actor initially appeared in the premiere episode of HBO's And Just Like That, only to meet an untimely end, with reports his character Mr. Big would make a cameo in the season finale. However, after multiple sexual assault allegations made against Noth by several women, that appearance has now been scrapped. The Murdaugh name has been removed from the law firm founded by Alex Murdaugh's great-grandfather decades ago in the southern U.S. Sarah Bartlett has this story.
Peters, Murdaugh, Parker, Elsroth, and Dietrich will now be known as the Parker Law Group. WSAV reports that the firm made the change this week, only saying they wanted to honor Johnny Parker for his 50 years of outstanding service. Alex Murdaugh resigned from the firm shortly after charges began to pile up against him. He's currently in Richland County Jail on $7 million bond, facing dozens of felony counts connected to alleged insurance scams. He's also facing civil charges for the death of a woman in a 2019 boating accident.
Bed Bath & Beyond says it's going to close around 36 stores in multiple states. They'll be shuttered by the end of February. States with more than one location affected include Arizona, California, Georgia, Minnesota, New York, Pennsylvania, Texas, and Washington. Meantime, it reported a miss on revenue in its latest earnings report. Brian Shook, NBC News Radio.
This report is sponsored by DuckDuckGo. Protect your privacy for free with DuckDuckGo.
I bought football tickets for my husband's birthday, and now I'm in a football bubble. All I see online are articles and ads about football. I hate feeling manipulated. I downloaded DuckDuckGo and saw a difference right away. Take back your privacy online with DuckDuckGo. Privacy simplified.
If your New Year's resolution includes getting into shape, make step one downloading the free iHeartRadio app. Whether your goal is balancing mind and body or ramping up the intensity to beast mode, we've got the music to get you moving and keep you motivated with dozens of specially curated workout playlists, from rock pump up to yoga music. Just put your headphones on and tap playlists to get started on reaching your goals. iHeart. Discover music, radio, and podcasts you'll love.
iHeartRadio.
Rich is just a really, really good guy. The term good egg isn't enough to describe him. He's also certified organic and free range. Rich puts the cap back on everything. The toothpaste, the olive oil, the shampoo, everything. He lets his 10-year-old nephew beat him at virtual tennis, even though he can straight up slay his 10-year-old nephew in virtual tennis. When the toilet paper is running low, Rich replaces the roll on the actual holder, not just on the back of the toilet. Rich is texting and driving. Rich, no. What are you doing, Rich? I was just telling everyone how great you are. Texting and driving makes good people look bad. Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org. A public service announcement brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Next Thursday, you will be caught in an extreme flash flood.
Disasters don't plan ahead, but you can. Talk to your loved ones about making an emergency plan. Get started today at ready.gov/plan. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thanks for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social pages we're on these days, facebook.com/Talk El Paso, the Talk El Paso channel over on YouTube, Twitter at Talk El Paso, or Twitch, Andrew J. Polk. I think if you search Talk El Paso, it'll still show up. But we've got a lot of ways that you can comment, chime in, just view the show if you want to. We do a whole video thing here if you're online with us on those social pages, so do appreciate you sticking around with us here for the second hour of the show. We do have those phone lines open, full up at the moment, but if you want to chime in with your 2 cents that way, that number to call is 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. Michael Pettis, Calvin Williams, Leroy Chuck, and more tuned in and chiming in right now. Again, if you want to add your 2 cents, the Facebook page is the main one, but we'll see most or all of them. This don't spam, and we'll have to ban an account, one of those random whack-a-mole moments earlier today over there. No one that you or I know, anyway, like literally just constantly spamming some weird link that probably was going to make your computer explode, so don't do that. Anyway, talking about a bunch of things here today. Again, thank you to Michael Robert Tipton speaking with us about the return of his show on our sister station, Fox Sports 1380, starting tomorrow. I'll probably be chiming in on that one during the recording of it as well, so free to do so as well. We'll post up more here after the show on where you can go to find that as his page is up. But as the point in the show, we are going to go and take those calls, but just a couple of the things, a couple of the comments I want to go to here. Just one that caught me here, Leroy Chuck, in the middle of that in the discussion about the arena, saying El Paso is more concerned with painting murals, which is why urban development isn't a priority. I didn't realize that struck such a nerve with you from yesterday when we had that, the El Pasoan of the year and the subsequent Community Spirit Award from El Paso Inc. Didn't realize that you were going to lead to an anti-mural campaign, because coming up after that, Michael Pettis saying murals, I thought that was graffiti, and Leroy Chuck agreeing with him. Man, what do you got to do? What do you got against some paint on a wall that is authorized to be there? That's the main difference. If it's something you didn't want, well, then it's graffiti. Calvin Williams, a little bit going for the jugular here. I mean, 1380 sounds like they're twice the station that 690 is. Ouch, a little bit. But, I mean, it's a good station. There's some history behind that, actually, about what it used to be. But that's another topic for another show here. But get into those calls right now. Again, the number to call, 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. We do have Joe on the west side here with us right now. Joe, thanks for joining us. I think we just lost Joe there. All right. Well, if you want to try to call back, 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. Otherwise, we do now have Ben on the east side here with us. Ben, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, I was just listening to your guest before, and he was talking about Alzheimer's. And I'm not too sure. I'm sure you probably are aware of this, but have you heard about studies that show that Viagra is supposedly supposed to be a good treatment and or maybe prevention for Alzheimer's?
I cannot say that I have heard that one. I've been decently following Alzheimer's since I was covering its developments for the last more than a decade at this point, but that's a new one for me.
Yeah, look it up. It's on the internet. They came out with it about maybe 2 weeks ago. Just to tie into that would be that, that's another repurposed drug. Viagra is supposed to be for erectile dysfunction, but they found out that it might be able to be used for something else, and that's kind of what ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine were also looked at as repurposed drugs, already been certified by the FDA for use, and they somehow banned those two drugs, and yet things like Viagra, you can get it for Alzheimer's treatment now.
I mean, I guess in all of these things, I try to make sure that, talk with your doctor about it. And I guess what it comes down to me is this: if someone is willing to put their medical license on the line to be able to work with you on this, then that's a little level more of assurance for me anyway. Or just find a doctor that you trust and like with it, because yeah, heck, there have been so many drugs that what they were originally intended for and what they ended up being used for were kind of cross purposes. So, if there's the science behind it to support it, I'm all in favor.
But Andrew, do you think it's I should be able not be able to go to my doctor and have a discussion with them and get a prescription that I feel safe with and he feels safe with? But it's as long as he explains it to me, it seems like I should be able to get that. That going, one last thing. I was listening to Peter McCullough's address to the Texas Senate Health Human Services Committee meeting in March of last year, and there was about I'd say about 15, 20 people that walked out of that conference or that meeting, and I think Cesar Blanco was one of them. So again, the number of people that Peter McCullough has said in his article in the Journal of American Medical Association said that almost 85% of the people that have died from COVID could have been saved if early treatment was available. But our wonderful government said there was no early treatment, that you have to wait for a vaccine, or it will basically go home, wait until you turn blue, and then go in the hospital, and then it's between you and God. What do you think? What's your thoughts on that?
It's been pretty clear to me, I think, pretty early on. It came out more mainstream after there were actually approved treatments, but early intervention in this kind of way, is with many issues that come up in this scope, has always been the most effective, often the most effective when it comes to most subjects involving medical treatment. It's undeniable that there has been a good amount of politics wrapped up in every bit of this. From either side, it doesn't matter which way you slice it, there has often been some kind of scope, slant, fix in on part of this. That's why when it comes down to, for me, what I look at the individual risk factors for my family, our situation, and what has made sense, and then talking with your doctor. Because if you can, if you don't feel like, I can't trust my doctor, that's a separate issue that has increased importance right now. But, making sure that you have that relationship with them and able to say, like, hey, these are the factors I'm looking at, these are my individual issues, and this is what I'm looking at. What do you think about these, and what can we do to affect essentially these goals? That's what it comes down to for me at the individual level of you and me.
But one of the things you said is that you should talk to your doctor, and I can talk to my doctor, but my doctor is afraid to give me that medication because he might lose his license.
And that's where the politics comes into it, unfortunately. I'll agree.
Where's the sense in that?
I'll agree with you that it doesn't make much there, which is why I'm glad that, like locally, as we've talked about previously, there have been some studies and other things going on with that. But haven't seen much updates on what happened to those since last quarter of last year. So hopefully more data coming out about that this year.
And don't hold your breath, because once they come out with it, they're going to say it doesn't work. even though they have lots of other studies, thousands of other people, Uttar Pradesh, Mexico City, a number of other countries that have wiped out COVID in their areas with early treatment with ivermectin and other early treatments.
Yeah, I mean,
but no, not in the United States. We can't do it because the powers that be have said that they want Pfizer to make a whole lot of money with their vaccine, along with Merck, along with AstraZeneca.
I'm not saying you're wrong on any of those particular points here, but again, I'll see what the study says and evaluate it on its individual merits there. We got to take that next break right now, but coming back out of the break, we'll get to more of the calls and comments on the line here. Again, that number to call, 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. Some of these related comments. You got to check out the comment stream. It's always a ride. Facebook.com/Talk El Paso, but that call online, 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. Back after this break with more.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
A 3-car crash on the 54 Patriot northbound before Sun Valley is blocking the right lane and the right entrance ramp. Got stop-and-go traffic, I-10 westbound at Wrestler, I-10 eastbound, stop-and-go between Artcraft and Thorn. Loop 375 border highway at the 54 Gateway, disabled vehicle blocking the right shoulder there. And an accident reported out in Sparks, Gateway Boulevard westbound at Horizon. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
This report is sponsored by DuckDuckGo. Protect your privacy for free with DuckDuckGo.
I bought football tickets for my husband's birthday, and now I'm in a football bubble. All I see online are articles and ads about football. I hate feeling manipulated. I downloaded DuckDuckGo and saw a difference right away. Take back your privacy online with DuckDuckGo. Privacy simplified.
iHeartRadio Earth knows small changes make a big difference for the environment. Did you know that keeping your tires even a single PSI lower than recommended means worse mileage and more trips to the pump? So do the environment and your wallet a favor and always check the tire pressure. Brought to you by iHeartRadio Earth and the National Environmental Education Foundation. To find more tips on smarter, sustainable living or to take action in your own community, go to iHeartRadio.com/Earth.
Now may be the perfect time to buy a home financed by Loan Depot. Loan Depot has over 300 loan products to help you make home ownership a reality. Interest rates are near historic lows. Rates will not stay low forever. So call 866-888-LOAN so one of our thousands of loan officers can help you find the right loan. Call 866-888-LOAN or visit loandepot.com. Loan Depot. Rates are subject to change. Equal housing opportunity lender. NMLS number 174457. Licensed in all 50 states.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along, which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. It finds them for you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter.com/radio.
Teens in foster care will love you, even if you don't know the lingo.
Dad bod, noun. The result of the occasional donut, always washed down with confidence.
Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council. Visit adoptuskids.org.
News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. A lot of ways to participate in the show. We do have those phone lines open right now. That number to call, 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM, talking about a bunch of the things affecting us here in the borderland. We've got some of those pound 250 calls also coming later. If at any point you can't get through or you have a pressing thought while we're not on air, Good way to submit that is through that pound 250 line. Literally, dial pound 250 on your cell phone. Does have to be a cell phone because it ends up being a digital call if you want to get technical about it. But dial pound 250, call it like a phone number. It'll ring, it'll answer, it'll ask you to say a key word. Say Talk El Paso. You'll be linked up here, a message from me, and be able to leave us a message there. We do ask you keep it to about 2 minutes here. So we got some of those later coming up in the show here that we will get to. But otherwise, well, you'll leave us a message day or night. But getting more of those phone calls right now. Again, the number to call, 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. Do believe we got Joe back on the line here. So, Joe, thanks for joining us.
Hey, Andrew. Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
As far as the parking goes for the downtown stadium,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I'm from Houston originally. I moved there 10 years ago, and I love to see the people are nice and the crime's really low. And I could talk about why El Paso got the bad reputation in a minute. But as far as the parking, you know, Houston built the Minute Maid Park where the Astros play, and next to the convention center, which was always dead before they built it. Then they built the Toyota Center where the Rockets play on the other side, and they built a beautiful Discovery Green Park. And there's no parking in Houston. But the issue is you're going to pay an arm and a leg. I took my kids to Astros game last summer, and you want to park within a quarter mile, you're paying $30. And that's my point here is, number one, I'm asking you, why do they want a downtown stadium? Because this town is just too cheap to support any type of big concerts or major league sports teams. What is the purpose of a downtown stadium? I missed the first part. I'm sorry.
I mean, that's $1 million question, right? I don't think you realize how expansive of a question you just had. Not your fault here, but I mean, that has literally been debated since before 2012, but really hit that fever pitch ever since the 2012 Quality of Life Bond Project that put this forth and has almost been in court ever since. Not exactly, but it feels like it from this standpoint. So
the quality of life here is bad. I mean, it's boring, especially if you're a gringo like me, because there's no good concerts. There's no Cowboys or Oilers games to go to, or Astros or Ranger games. But this town would never support that. I was previously in the ticket broker supply business, and you know, the whole mountain region, Albuquerque, Las Cruces, El Paso, people just aren't going to pay money. I mean, you go to a Spurs game or a Rockets game and buy a small popcorn and 2 waters, it's $25, and we just don't have the market to support that here. I think another issue is the fact that we're on the border, and people, I don't know any border town. I've been to Nogales, Arizona. I've been to that little small town that connects to Tijuana, not San Diego, but there's another little small town there.
Right.
I forget the name. I've been to Nogales, Arizona. I've been to all of the McAllen, Del Rio area, and I think the problem is there's a lack of culture. I mean, like just now, I just bought some mofongo. I was trying to find a good mofongo restaurant here. I drove all the way over to the airport, and it's $30. We're in Houston and get that for $12, and it tastes twice as good. I took my kids out for Vietnamese food, and I showed my Vietnamese buddy in Houston the menu here at the one on the west side, right there by Coronado, and it's like they charge triple the prices, and it's not that good. I mean, the cost of living is really high here, and people say it's cheaper, but it's not. I mean, for example, gas is 40 cents cheaper in other cities. I mean, but the people here are nice. I love it for my family because it's safe here, but there's just a lack of culture. There's a lack of restaurants. The parks here are terrible. They won't put tennis courts. They'll put parks with skateboard parks, but there's just lacking culture in this town, man. I mean, you got Mexican food and, you know, your Applebee's and Luby's. That's about it here. And there's just a lack of culture and things to do. But I dare you to name me one border town that has a good tourist industry. There isn't. And another thing is if you're a gringo like me, you go to Walmart like late in the night where they exploit the first generation immigrants and ask a question, and nobody even speaks English here. And then that's another issue. I think part of the issue is the exploitation of labor. I think it's just a lack of culture and things to do. And as far as the other gentleman goes, he is right. They discovered that Viagra is showing promise for Alzheimer's treatment. And as far as ivermectin goes, man, the ivermectin, it's the magic bullet. And all I want you to do is it's banned on YouTube, but just go to Senator Rob Johnson. I saw this on C-SPAN. It was in early December of 2020, and where the frontline doctors of Houston talked to Rob Johnson, the senator from Wisconsin, about how ivermectin is a silver bullet. And you can go to DuckDuckGo and just do a simple Google search. I'll go to Google, just type in Congress uses ivermectin when they get the coronavirus. It works. If you do it early, it works. It worked for me personally. And I was banned off Facebook for forever. They still haven't get my account back. Had up a new one just for mentioning I took a picture of the ivermectin I bought in Mexico and said my fever went down from 104.7 to 99, and my oxygen went from 88 to 98 in 4 hours after taking this with vitamin D and zinc, and I was kicked off. Now, that's just not right, man. There's an agenda here, and having worked for hospitals in the past, and I see how the system works, you know. American medicine is all about money, and it's all controlled by the AMA and Big Pharma and money. And we have these cute little ex-cheerleaders come in every week bringing us lunch on Fridays and promoting a different drug, and that's all they're all about, good money.
I mean, I'm not surprised that the pharmaceutical industry tries to make money. I mean, I get that there's more to it than that, but I mean, the fact that any industry tries to make money when someone says that as a revelation doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, because literally that's what it exists for. But I'm glad it worked for you. I am not a doctor. I do not give medical advice. If you have questions about it, would recommend you talk to your own. And again, if you got issues with the doctor and the way they say it, that's kind of a larger issue in the first place. But to your first point about the actual culture of El Paso, I'm going to slightly disagree with you there, because I think you need to, maybe it's hard over the last couple of years, I know, but get out a little bit more. There's a lot going on here. One show I will recommend to you, also on our air, would be the El Paso History Radio Show coming up this Saturday at noon here. So maybe just look around a little bit more, do some more DuckDuckGoing, though I get your point about that in Google searching here. So thank you for the points and the call there. I think we'll try to get to one more quick one here before the break right now. I do believe we do have Raul in Northeast on the line here. Raul, thanks for joining us.
Hey, Andrew. I want to thank you for running that interview of Jerome when he was running for the school board. It was great. It just showed what an awesome person he was. He was a close friend, a client of many years, and just a great American, a super teacher, and a community activist. I loved him. I will miss him. He was just a great guy. You shouldn't let your callers defame others, Andrew. One of your callers was probably projecting by calling President Biden a pedophile. I think that is just wrong of you to allow that, and for your station to allow that defamation of the President of the United States.
Okay, let's make something very clear here right now. We deal with opinion content here a lot on this show. What I say, I back up here, but we do take calls from the audience here, and in doing so, we allow them to express their opinion. And that was very clearly his opinion here. So if you're going to start throwing around, $10 words like defamation on here, I do think you need to come very correct with it yourself. And I think more than a couple of people out here would be saying that glass houses, people who live in them, shouldn't be throwing stones here, because you are not unknown to yourself to be making many assertions and opinion statements about other and previous elected officials yourself. Am I not right?
Like what? Give me one example.
Almost anything that you say about the former president.
Give me one example of something that I've said about the president that is not true.
I don't think we have enough time to truly go through this, Raul. And mostly,
we don't have one. By the way, Veronica Escobar, I heard her today addressing the Congress about what happened on January 6th. And she thanked the Capitol Police for making it possible for her kids to continue to have a mother, for her husband to continue to have a wife, for her mother to continue to have a daughter. The evidence seems to indicate to me that Trump planned and incited a coup on the Constitution, Congress, and the Capitol last year. What responsibility do you think Trump bears for that attack?
I mean, that's just why I've been very interested in what has been going on with the investigation, even if there has been more than a little bit of partisan politics in it. All the questions that end up coming up about this, about what happened, what exactly was behind it, all that kind of stuff would make me think that I would like there to be a slightly more independent one. But hey, we're also a year into this, literally, of course, today. And the fact that there hasn't been more concrete about that, this is a subject that we will definitely get into more here tomorrow, as we're still focusing more than a little bit on the local issues, as we do on this show. So we're going to go ahead and take that next break right now. Thank you for the point and the call overall, but we'll go ahead and take more calls coming up here after the break. That number to call, 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. Back after this break with more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM.
El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
I'm Jessica Gonzalez with your CBS 4 News Update. El Paso's COVID-19 data shows a jump in daily cases that we haven't seen in more than a year. The city confirmed 1,002 new cases today. The last time we reported more than 1,000 daily cases was back in October 2020. Hospitalizations aren't as high as they were back then, but they have gone up by about 30 patients since yesterday. 10 more people have also died from the virus. President Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris addressed the nation today on the one-year anniversary of the January 6th insurrection of the U.S. Capitol. The president forcefully condemned Donald Trump's election big lie that sparked the deadly breach. A series of remembrance events during the day will be widely attended by Democrats in person and virtually. El Paso Congresswoman Veronica Escobar confirms there were members of the El Paso community who breached and entered the Capitol that day. She's waiting to hear from the FBI about any investigations regarding El Pasoans. Texas Senator Ted Cruz says Republicans will likely try to impeach President Biden if they gain control of the House after the midterms. He thinks there are multiple grounds to pursue the impeachment. I'm Jessica Gonzalez with your CBS 4 News Update.
News Radio 690. Traffic all day.
That 3-vehicle accident from earlier, that 3-car crash from earlier on the 54 Patriot is closed. The 54 Patriot. The 54 ramp from Sun Valley. The 54 ramp from past Sun Valley to Sean Haggerty. The 54 ramp from Sun Valley to... The 54 ramp from Sun Valley... Jesus. The 54 ramp from past Sun Valley to Sean Haggerty. Till at least 6 o'clock.
From the KFOX 14 Severe Weather Center, this is Chief Meteorologist Sandra Diaz. We've got another cold night ahead of us with temperatures back into the lower to mid 30s. Winds will be out of the south-southeast to around 10 miles an hour. Our day for Friday looks pretty nice. We've got temperatures even warmer in the mid 60s, and by Saturday we are pushing to near 70 degrees with also a slight increase in our winds. On top of that, look for an increase in cloud cover for next week with a chance for rain.
This report is sponsored by Liberty Mutual Insurance, where you only pay for what you need.
Liberty. Nobody should have to pay for one-size-fits-all insurance coverage. Liberty Mutual customizes your car and home insurance so you only pay for what you need.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
When El Paso Children's Hospital first opened its doors in 2012, they forever changed pediatric healthcare in the region. More families stay in El Paso for specialty treatment instead of leaving town. More children have access to pediatric specialists. 7 pediatric specialty clinics help achieve the best possible outcomes. And there's so much more to come. El Paso Children's Hospital, celebrating 10 years of pediatric specialty care in the region. 10 years of wonder.
Attend the Las Cruces Gun Show this weekend, January 8th and 9th at the Las Cruces Convention Center, 680 East University Ave in Las Cruces. See dealers selling the finest in modern guns, antique guns, custom knives, ammo, Old West collectibles, reloading supplies, and much more. Buy, sell, and trade at the Las Cruces Gun Show this weekend, January 8th and 9th, Las Cruces Convention Center, 680 East University in Las Cruces. Get $2 off. Go to azgunradio.com. Parking is free.
I feel like I'm being haunted by a pair of headphones. Everywhere I go is a creepy ad for headphones I looked at one time. I hate that feeling like I'm being watched. I downloaded DuckDuckGo and saw a difference right away. Take back your privacy online with DuckDuckGo. Privacy simplified.
This report is sponsored by DuckDuckGo. Protect your privacy for free with DuckDuckGo.
News Radio 690 KTSM El Paso.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thanks for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social pages that we're on these days, including Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. Only had to ban one spam account over there on Twitch, so it's working out so well so far. A lot of ways you can leave those comments. We do have the phone line open as well. That number to call, 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. A lot we're getting into here today. So, comments over there. We got over on the social pages, Joey Carlson, Louis Pinato, Ion Grimm, Stephen Purdy, James Radcliffe, Calvin Williams, Louis Pinato, and more. Edgar Ortiz a little bit earlier, and Leroy Chuck. Oh, yeah, it's always a good time, and the comments always flying fast and furious. But again, we will take those calls. 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. I got a couple of them popping up here right now. You're live with Talk El Paso. Who's this?
This is Andrew from the West Side.
Hey there, Andrew. What's on your mind?
Yes, I was going to ask you out there, can anybody tell me how efficient or how productive has the new university baseball park been?
Oh, that's a detail. I worked on that question years ago at this point. I haven't revisited it in a sense. I'll be perfectly honest. But in the first, a couple of, within the first year, it was still pretty much in the red. I don't really know how it has moved since. I mean, they've now started operating more events, teams, things going on there, though I would suspect probably not the greatest over this last year, just to be perfectly honest with you, because of the lack of things going on, though they've started up again. I will say that at that point when I did that story, there was some consternation I received from some people employed by the city, is the way I'm going to choose to put that, on the way we went about analyzing the numbers. So there's it might come down to one of those lies, damn lies statistic things about how you're analyzing and looking at it that I am a little bit dubious about. But I haven't seen too much analysis recently, I will say that.
Yeah, I was referring from a monetary point of view because, as I remember, they tore down the city, City Hall building,
blew it up.
And now
Yeah.
all City Hall offices are scattered all over the north part of downtown El Paso, or actually more to the northeast part, if you want to talk about that. But anyway, I must respond to Raul character again. Let me just remind people, Congress is a legislative body. It is not a court of competent jurisdiction. And so to answer Raul's question, that's just an allegation against Trump. He has not been found guilty of insurrection by any court of competent jurisdiction. So, Raul, let me educate you one more time. No court of competent jurisdiction has found him guilty of insurrection. Andrew, have a good evening.
You too as well. Thank you for the points and the call there. I mean, that's the whole point that I was bringing up in the last couple of days here about impeachments on its own. Literally, and I do mean literally, not a criminal proceeding. It is a political one. And that is not I'm taking an edgy take on it. That's literally the way it was designed, because it is basically the removal of office for someone who has been found to have done high crimes and misdemeanors. The definitional argument of it there. So for the House leadership, current still, because it has held over from then, to have just gone barreling into that decision and then saying, we'll just hope it works out the way we expected. We want it to, with absolutely no expectation that it'll actually go that well. Not how it works. It's like, making a paper airplane and expecting it to go, transatlantic for you because, well, we hope it will. That's not how it works. You have to have a reasonable expectation of success if you're really saying that we want this to happen. I could go over this more and more times. All right, we got at least one more call on the line here. You're live with Talk El Paso. Who's this? Hello.
Hello.
Hello. You're live with Talk El Paso. Don't. Can you hear us?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes. Who's this?
This is Maria on the east side.
Hi there, Maria. What's on your mind?
Well, you know what? This gentleman, Raul, he does a lot of attacks, and I'm very sorry that Congresswoman Escobar felt that her life was threatened and that she may not be here for her kids or her husband. But has he ever said anything about the policemen that have died with the riots that were during the summer of riots? Have you ever said anything to mourn the death of these people that were doing their job and their duty? Why is she, as a congresswoman, her life is more important than these people that have died in the line of duty? They have left their families, their wives, their husbands, their kids, their parents. We have to mourn on every side the lives that we are losing. but her life being more important and blaming Trump for something like this gentleman that just said, it has not been proven. It's also just a political maneuver. But let's mourn the people that have died, that were hurt, and not make this into what could have happened. Because these people have died. It did happen. Let's mourn their lives and their jobs, their bravery to be doing their jobs out in the streets during these riots. Let's just stop being so partisan. Let's not be so callous anymore.
I think
just a comment.
Oh no, I think it's a very fair point here, and I don't feel like it should be controversial at all to say that in all of these circumstances, all of these situations we're talking about, the people responsible should be held accountable, fully investigated if that is what is required, and furthermore to say, hey, this is wrong in all circumstances. I get that there's a, what about this situation, but I feel like as reasonable thinking adults, we can say that all of these situations, both of the sets of them, were bad, and that they need to be fully done.
Very bad. I agree. That's why I said let's mourn, but let's not just act like her life is more important than the lives of these people that are not Congress people or congresswomen, congressmen. Her life is not more important. Let's mourn let's mourn what has happened to all these people. And stop acting like they are above us. They're elected officials. They work for us.
Oh, absolutely.
They're not royalty. They're not royalty.
Yeah, we had a very pointed conflict at the founding of this country around that idea specifically. So fully in agreement with you on that last statement. So thank you very much for the point in the call. Do appreciate it.
Thank you. Great job. Happy New Year. God bless you.
Happy New Year to you as well. Definitely appreciate it there. All right. Trying to get to lost one there. Sorry. I think we got one more call on the line here right now. Just popped up. You're live with Talk El Paso. Who's this?
Yeah, it's Ed on the east side. Andrew, I didn't agree with the president making his speech there. I thought it was kind of rank, but there's plenty of blame to go around. The people that could have prevented this denied the National Guards to appear there to guard that. They could have prevented all of that. So there's plenty of blame to go around.
I mean,
the mayor of Washington and the Speaker of the House turned down the offer of 20,000 troops. So there's plenty of blame to go around.
I mean, the best way I've had this described, and I will agree with the description of, is a FUBAR. And you can look that up for yourself, what that means. Yeah.
All right, Andrew, you guys got a good show going here. Keep it going.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much for the call. You have a good evening.
All righty.
All right. I think we got more calls popping up here. If you're calling in and ending up being dropped out of here, I think I got a button stuck on my board here. So it is not your fault, nor is it something I'm doing intentionally, but we'll try to get to it here. We got another call on the line here. You're live with Talk. Yep, there we went. Sorry about that. See if we got someone live over here. You're live with Talk El Paso. Who's this?
Hi, this is Fatima on the west side.
Hi there. What's on your mind?
You know what? I just wanted to make a couple of comments. For one, you have Miss Escobar, thanking everybody that, she almost died and all sorts of things. Like the last caller said, it does fall on Speaker Pelosi, but as of 2011, actually what had happened is that they put a lot of money into securing the Capitol because of terrorist attacks. So a lot of people don't know that. And so Pelosi was the one that was completely in charge of it, and security has been beefed up around the Capitol since 9/11. Number one. Number two, I want to bring up a little bit about the jab. A lot of people are getting fired because they don't want to take it because they have religious exemptions, they have medical exemptions, and they're getting fired because none of the exemptions are being taken into consideration. Yet Congress is exempt from taking the jab. You would think that because they're all elderly, they would be the first ones in line. Yet they're the ones that are protected by law to not have to take it. And if somebody wants to bring up that Biden took it and so did Kamala Harris, and they did it on TV, I want everybody to know that when they took it, the jab was under emergency authorization use. It hadn't been approved yet. And the president and the vice president are absent from taking any kind of experimental medication. So it hadn't been approved yet, and everybody needs to ask what it is that they took, if they took anything, and it was probably a placebo. So everybody would just get in line and take it. And we have people in the medical field that are being fired. We have people in the military, pilots, I mean, all sorts of things. And why should our exemptions not be taken into consideration when Congress's are?
I mean, you're never going to find me saying, except in the most exigent of circumstances, like please don't open the aircraft door at 30,000 feet, of saying that mandates are for what should be voluntary. I mean, the entire point of doing these things on camera was a little bass-ackwards to me as it was, because what other medical procedure, because literally that's what it is being done and televised. We even saw a little bit botched execution of it here locally. So to say that that is good and a way to do it, it doesn't make sense to me. And yeah, the fact that we have these second order impacts coming out of it because of the whole we're tired of waiting attitude. Okay, carrot and stick is how you lead animals, not rational thinking humans. And that's why I took the vaccination, made that choice for myself, but I was able to make that choice for myself. And so by saying that, and you no longer have that choice, is against modern medical practice for the most part, at the very least.
Well, yeah, medicine is not, it fits everybody. Everybody's different, and everybody should have the choice, to decline or to take something else. And yeah, it's very weird the way they're doing it. And if they were really concerned about our health, I don't see that they did, like, why have they never done, you know what, this year we're just going to give whoever has cancer free treatment. No, cancer patients have to pay out of pocket. We're all donating. They've never given any kind of free treatment for any kind of anything.
I mean,
it's the first time that they're giving you something for free. And you know what? The mouse never understood why the cheese was free.
And I mean, just ask someone who does get those cancer treatments what the bills are there, and I think you're coming up with another part of the answer. All right, thank you for the point and the call there. We got to take that next break right now, a little bit overdue. We're going to squeeze in what we can. Last segment coming after this. So if you're on the line, stay there for me. If you want to call in, squeeze it in, 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. Back after this break with more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
A stretch of the 54 Patriot northbound is closed past Sun Valley Drive to Sean Haggerty due to an earlier 3-vehicle crash. Expect that to reopen in about a half hour. I-10 eastbound is slow and go starting at Artcraft, and westbound on the I-10, the slowing starts at Wrestler. Disabled vehicle blocking the right lane, Joe Battle Boulevard southbound in Montana. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
This report is sponsored by Jackson Hewitt. Get your biggest refund guaranteed. Jackson Hewitt Tax Pros will help find thousands worth of new tax credits so you get every dollar you deserve. So why wait? Schedule an appointment with one of their tax pros and learn more at jacksonhewitt.com.
Mass Mutual knows retirement can be an uncomfortable conversation.
Who's the big boy?
You are.
Who's going to take care of us when we retire?
It's gonna be you.
You're going to make sure we don't end up in a retirement home.
Or if we do, it's a really nice one.
With tango lessons.
And bocce ball.
And a community pool. Oh.
Talk to us about retirement today. Feel comfortable about tomorrow. Mass Mutual. Live mutual.
iHeartRadio Earth is here with little tips for a healthier planet. It sure feels good to step into a warm car after letting it heat up for a few minutes. However, this practice wastes gas, increases emissions, and pollutes the air. Limit idling your car to no more than 3 minutes to save money at the gas station and improve air quality. Brought to you by iHeartRadio Earth and the National Environmental Education Foundation. To find more tips for smarter, sustainable living, or to take action in your own community, go to iHeartRadio.com/Earth.
Because everyone deserves excellent medical care, El Paso has its own free community medical clinic. RotoCare is a free walk-in clinic located at 301 South Schutz Drive and is devoted to improving the health of all El Pasoans, including those without insurance or legal documentation. RotoCare is open most Saturdays from 9 a.m. to noon. For more information, call 790-0700. RotoCare, because everyone deserves excellent medical care.
Developed and used by cultures in forested areas, drums served as an early form of communication. Due to the highly ambiguous nature of these rhythms, misinterpretations often occur, resulting in violence. Thankfully, when we bang the drum now, we're a bit more civilized.
Can you hear me now?
A bit.
We have to hit them hard for this.
Beat out your frustrations on our drum.
Do not stop banging that drum.
News Radio 690 KTSM. El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. Coming up at the end of the hour here of our 2 hours daily, Monday through Friday, 4 to 6 p.m., Of course, Friday is coming. The first time we're going to be doing it for 2 hours here because that is meaning we're going to be doing our free-for-all show for Friday. Yeah, first of the year, first Friday, first 2 hours, and we'll be taking those calls and comments throughout the hour. We've got a lot being talked about here today. I do appreciate some of the sentiments out there, positive and negative. We take it all in stride because there's a lot to be talked about here as we have Ed Flora, Louis Panato, Edgar Ortiz, Calvin Williams, James Radcliffe, and more. A little bit of whack-a-mole going on with some of these comments of spammers. Just don't spam unrelated products and you're good to be on here. Yeah, what happens when you're in an open forum like this. But we do, of course, have some of those pound 250 calls we'll get to here. That'll kind of, well, let's consider it the unofficial kickoff for the coming weekend here. Well, the prelude to the weekend. That is our free-for-all show. Again, if you want to leave those comments, the way to do it, pound 250. Dial that on your phone. When prompted, say the keyword Talk El Paso and leave your own comment. All we ask is that you keep it to about 2 minutes or so. You can make a statement, whatever, because you're basically pre-submitting it to us through that. But if you leave it about over 2 minutes, I'll let you finish the thought, and then we'll continue the conversation with the advantage of us having these couple hours now to have these discussions. If you want to have something extended and you're conversational about it, if you're just making a speech at me, sermons make me sleepy anyway, we ask you to just call in. So, get some of those pound 250 calls, and Ed Clore putting it as a 2 hour free for all with a referee. Oh, geez, it's a yeah, it'll be an interesting time. We'll see how it goes. All right, so we got those pound 250 calls, a couple of them in here right now. Let's consider this the kickoff for Free for All Friday coming up here right now with some interesting viewpoints. Again, pound 250 keyword Talk El Paso. Leave your own message like this.
This is Messiah Frankie. I just wanted to share with you all how proud I was of the speech by President Biden. He absolutely nailed it. He flat got into the faces of all the nut jobs out there. And as you would expect, it wasn't carried on foul noise network, awful American news nuts, or nut job newsmaxers. Wow. How about that? Nothing like keeping people in the dark. Boy, oh boy. I'll tell you, spot on. You people that support insurrectionists and seditionists ought to get down on your hands and knees and pray to the whatever God you pray to and just ask for forgiveness for your stupid idiocy. Creeps.
Forced metaphors aside, you can leave your own comment as we have one here. Again, ask you to keep it about 2 minutes, otherwise we'll let it finish the thought and then continue on. We got 2 hours, and particularly for tomorrow, as long as you're conversational, which means back and forth, not just speeches, we're happy to take it. But last one we got here for today of the pound 250 line.
Today, I watched Hospice Joe give a speech that one of his staffers, who acts more like a nursing home employee these days, had to write for him. In the speech, the mouth breather in chief looked just as lost and weak as usual and talked about lies conceived and spread for profit and power and also talked about the need to be absolutely clear about what is the truth and what is a lie. I think that's an excellent idea. Remember that the modern leftist loves to lecture you about democracy as they cheer on censorship, forced vaccinations, anti-white discrimination, and their violent summer riots and destruction in which leftist domestic terrorists kill people and burn neighborhoods to the ground. Apparently, they can riot for months on end, yet we cannot protest for a single day. Speaking of violence, remember that the most violent thing that actually happened on January the 6th during the patriotic but mostly peaceful protest at the Capitol was that Ashley Babbitt, an unarmed white woman, was shot and killed by Michael Byrd, an armed black man. Remember that thousands upon thousands of fraudulent votes have been found in various states, and that many voting rules were illegally changed in several states to enable a Biden victory? Remember that with mail-in voting, there is no way to verify the fidelity of the vote, and that this same way of voting was heavily encouraged by Democrats, with the threat of the virus serving as an extremely useful means to hide various types of fraud. Also remember that leftists make up the vast majority of the people in charge of actually counting the votes, and that there is video evidence of them keeping out Republican poll watchers while the votes were being counted. Remember that leftists are well known for and love to ballot harvest, and they want illegals to be able to vote, and that they consider requiring an ID to vote as racist. Now, consider this. The same people that want you to believe that Hospice Joe got 81 million votes in the most secure election in history are the same people who do and support all of the above openly, and who will dismiss you as a conspiracy theorist for noticing their pattern of behavior when it comes to things like elections, censorship, and suppression of legitimate news stories, such as the contents of Hunter Biden's laptop and Ashley Biden's diary.
So again, if you want to leave your own statements there, again, ask you to keep it on the pound 250 line to about 2 minutes. Otherwise, we'll let you finish the thought and then move on. And this is pretty much our kickoff for Friday here. Now, again, pound 250, keyword Talk El Paso to leave that kind of message. Otherwise, we'll leave it there for today because we are out of time. So thank everyone who did tune in, call in, participate in the show. You are really what helped make the show what it is, and our discussion and purpose to have greater discussion about things affecting us here in the borderland. So we will be off here for today, back here tomorrow. Free for All Friday coming up. Stay safe out there. Let's watch motorcycles and down the road. Have a great evening, y'all.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
A stretch of the 54 Patriot northbound is closed past Sun Valley Drive to Sean Haggerty due to an earlier 3-vehicle crash. Expect that to reopen in about a half hour. I-10 eastbound is slow and go starting at Artcraft, and westbound in the I-10, the slowing starts at Wrestler. Disabled vehicle blocking the right lane, Joe Battle Boulevard southbound in Montana. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
Let's face it, credit cards are pretty much a necessity.
New tires for the car? Here's my card.
I order takeout, use my card. And most of us just accept the high interest rates credit cards charge as a necessary evil.
What are you going to do?
Get a low fixed-rate credit card consolidation loan from Lightstream from $5,000 to $100,000 and pay off those credit card balances. Apply online, and you could